Good morning. This is Dylan Jovine with Behind the Markets. Happy Friday. Today is Friday the 14th. Woohoo! TGIF. No more basketball for us. We got our butts kicked last week, but that's fine. You win some, you learn some. Anyway, today I'd like to talk about really probably one of the most underreported stories out there, but this is why you have us. We love history here. We love the study of great power competition, and we have focused a lot on warfare over the years. Much to our competitive disadvantage, there is an old expression in our industry that if you focus on warfare, you don't make money because nobody really likes to buy that kind of stuff. They don't like to buy reports on it. We have found we have a different experience, but it certainly has limited our growth relative to many of our competitors. But look, you got to be honest with yourself. You got to focus on what you're interested in or what's the whole point of running your own business. Anyway, in May of 2024 is going to go down, and actually the specific date is May 2nd, is going to go down as one of the biggest days in military history. And May 2nd of 2024, basically, 15, 18 months ago, an F-16 flew Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall. And what was unique about that, this is a former Vietnam pilot, flew in the Vietnam War. What was unique about that is that it was completely controlled by AI. When you look at a Big Bang event in military history, the fact that Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall got into an AI F-16 and he trusted it to fly him around completely autonomously. Imagine that. Getting in a Tesla and having it drive you down the road is one thing. Getting in an F-16 and having its autopilot fly you around, it's a whole different thing. Why do I bring that up? That is probably the biggest change since, frankly, since the introduction of stealth in the 90s. That move. That's going to go down in history as a very, very big deal. And the reason I bring that up is, I don't know if you caught 60 Minutes, but Anduril, their unmanned jet Fury, they call it Fury, made its first flight recently. 60 Minutes, it's on 60 Minutes, and this was a big step forward. What's unique about this, and what's different about this than what happened last year, is that there is absolutely no cockpit, no place for a pilot. This is actually a jet that is completely flying autonomously. And the idea here is to have it as wingmen, basically. And it's really interesting. It just goes to show how much AI is already starting to change warfare. It's funny, I was reading an interview with Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, and he says, he's asked it in this question with Wired magazine, actually, what have you learned about warfare from watching the war in Ukraine? What have you learned about the battlefield of the future? And he says, I can't really tell you that. But he said, I'll tell you on the record what I've learned, not off the record, on the record. Broadly speaking, he says, and I'm going to quote here, broadly speaking, at the beginning of the war, it was very clear that you would need software orchestration of small objects. So basically, at the beginning of the war, you needed software to control a bunch of objects, drones, robots, that were going around doing things. So it's basically, you need really to have all these devices connected to software that is smarter and faster than the other guy's software. That's the name of the game. You have to have better chips, better software than the other guy. And so it's very different. And there used to be a TV show where teams of guys built robots and they had them compete with the other guy's robots. And that's what this is starting to look like. It's really astonishing where we're going here. Look, this is happening right now in real time. The good news is Anduril's a private company, but it's not the only game in town. We talk about this. We've done very well with these companies and breakthrough well. So I urge you to go onto the website, log onto the website, check it out and read some of these reports on public companies that have the same kind of technology and are really pushing. They're not going to sit around as Anduril becomes the only game in town. Anyway, that's all I have for this Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see y'all Monday.